recently, very recently, it's in the last 24 to 48 hours, we've had numerous discussions with the Pac-12 officials and their consulting firm Navigate about the value we might be able to bring to that conference. They asked us a number of questions. We provided a number of answers. I kept President Lasner abreast of those discussions going back and forth, and they knew of our timeline and our interest in the Mountain West Conference, of course. But we said we'd certainly entertain any interest that people had in us. And so after being involved with a lot of discussion back and forth, we asked them to let us know what they thought one way or another as soon as they could, and they let us know this morning after a Pac-12 meeting that we were not going to be extended an offer. One of the things they cited is the exit fees, as you know, in the conference are $17 million, and then the poaching fees that the Pac-12 would have to pay for each additional team they bring in is stair steps down $500,000. But for a sixth team, I think we'd be a sixth team, perhaps it would be $13 million. So all total would be 17,000 in exit fees and 13,000, or 17 million in exit fees and for 13 million in poaching fees for a potential of $30 million. So as they said to me, the cost benefit of bringing a Mountain West team in and Hawaii just didn't seem to satisfy the lawyers and the finance people, and so they elected not to extend us an offer. But that's why we were just checking out all our options out and seeing what may or may not be available. And so when that door closed, we were able to. The president was able to sign the MOU back with the Mountain West Conference, and we are going strong with the Mountain West Conference. So we're excited about that.
So the president was not involved at all in any of the discussions with the Pac-12?
Well, not directly. I was the one talking to Navigate and also to the Big 12 officials, but they put us over towards Navigate because Navigate had a lot of questions, and then Navigate advised their officials. So yeah, it was a three-way conversation, but I was the one talking with them and then relaying the information back and forth from the president.
Does that mean that the president acted unilaterally in deciding to accept the offer? To pledge to the Mountain West, or were you part of the consultation committee? Or
oh yeah, I know him and I talked a lot over the last 2 weeks, a lot over the last week, a lot over the last 24 to 48 hours about what options were available to us. And so yeah, it was a collaborated effort for sure. We all agreed on which direction we had to go, or eventually went. So no, it was certainly a collaborated effort between the two of us. And I know he was in touch with others in the community, the governor and others, the Board of Regent chair and whatnot. So everybody was, seemed to be briefed and on the same page moving forward. So never came to a point where there was a, conflict of, people having different ideas of which direction to go.
Well, and if they had extended an offer to you, which way would you have gone?
It's hard to say. There was pros and cons each way, because again, the financial piece is probably the most difficult piece for both sides. So would they have paid the $30 million, so to speak, the 17 plus the 13 would they have asked us to come up with some of that? Would they, we never got to that point of what that equation would look like, but certainly that would be the biggest indicator of whether you can go a certain direction is the cost that would have been associated with it. So we did not get to that point of deciding which direction would be best for the university, because we did not have that option in front of us at that time.
All right, Brian, go ahead.
Hey, Greg, how do you and the university feel about the 5% share of distribution money that the Mountain West announced, especially, in comparison to this, a UNLV or an Air Force that's about 25% each? Yeah.
Well, that's the difficult thing to going forward is we understand we're an affiliate member of football only, but as you know, the revenue distribution plan, football is the majority of the conference revenues. I think we get 85% of all conference revenues. So there seems to be different methodologies for calculating things, and that was the calculation in this particular situation. So we certainly would have liked to seen more, but we certainly accept our share, and we'll be good members of the Mountain West Conference going forward.
And was there ever talks with the Mountain West of potentially putting all your or the majority of your sports programs in that conference, as opposed to this split Mountain West, Big West situation that UH has had?
Yeah, there's been some discussion on that, not anything significant, and it's still early because I mean those discussions can still take place later on down the road. I think right now it's all about just solidifying the 8 teams going forward and what that looks like. So that has been discussed a little bit, and I'm sure after things settle down, that can continue to be discussed. I'm not sure which is best for our programs, whether it be to have that split program or whether it be all better to be unified. There seems to be pros and cons with that, and certain costs and whatnot associated with that. So, but I think that still can be discovered or discussed down the road a little bit. There is an exit fee to also get out of the Big West Conference, which is $750,000 for an exit fee to get out of the Big West Conference too. So there's just a lot of things to consider, but it's a little early to talk about that. Now, certainly Mountain West, has had a solid basketball reputation with the previous schools before they left, and so that was always a conversation we'd had even when I first got here. Is what's the appetite of going in all sports to Mountain West, just because of the enhanced basketball landscape that they have over there. But certainly that would come with additional costs too, and would we have to pay subsidies like we do in the Big West? And so there's some questions at hand that still need to be answered. But yeah, that has been talked about a little bit, and also the reduction of the subsidies that we pay in the Mountain West has been talked about going forward also. So those two things are continue to be on the table going forward, as this is once this settles down a little bit.
Thank you.
All right, Rob, go ahead.
Hey, Craig, you just mentioned the subsidies. What is it right now? Because from my understanding, it was only the original Mountain West members that the University of Hawaii would take care of as far as travel subsidies. So now with some of those members leaving the conference, what is left for the University of Hawaii to take care of in regards to travel subsidies and any incoming programs that join the Mountain West from here? With the University of Hawaii have to take care of travel subsidies?
Yeah, that still remains to be seen. I mean, as of right now, as you know, that if we play a Mountain West team from California, we pay them $150,000 in travel subsidy to fly over here to play football. If it's an inland team, maybe like Wyoming, Boise State, Colorado State, something like that, it's $175,000. And so, yeah, now those are all discussions that need to be had. For example, if those 4 of those teams left and we bring in another 4, so to speak, would those travel subsidies be in place for those newer 4 teams or not, or just the original teams? I mean, I'd like to think it would just be for the original teams and not for the new teams coming in, but that still needs to be negotiated. I think President Lasner pointed out before I got here in the Big West, that's what they did in the Big West, is the new teams that came in the Big West, we don't pay travel subsidies to them. Like, for example, I think Cal State San Bernardino, or no, Bakersfield, for example, is one. I think there might be another where we do not pay their travel subsidies because they're new into the conference. So yeah, could that formula be applied with the Mountain West and the new teams coming in? I would hope so. I mean, quite frankly, I'd like to get out of paying subsidies altogether, because I mean, you see, if we pay 4 subsidies at the amount I just mentioned, and then we pay another $600,000 or so to the Big West Conference, we're paying maybe $1.1 million in travel subsidies just for our conference foes to come play us. And that doesn't even include non-conference, because in non-conference teams, we always have to pay for every sport to come play us in non-conference. So in essence, we subsidize everybody's travel, conference or non-conference teams that come over and play us. So anything we can ever do to curb those subsidies in either conference or both would be great. But that remains to be seen going forward with in the Mountain West Conference with the new teams that might be coming in.
And just one more thing is, how much does this experience serve as a motivator for the program, knowing that you have a home for 8 years in football at the very least? of needing to increase its value so that if this situation ever presents itself again, the University of Hawaii football program is at its best selling point and has its most value.
Yeah, I think Rob, you're exactly right. It does give us the opportunity to grow and get back to where we were maybe back in, during the Sugar Bowl days, because they've shown here that they can do it, and we've had good teams. But as you know, with the Aloha Stadium going offline and having our small stadium here and kind of being uncertain about what the future is with the new stadium and of course our coaching change and a lot of the 19 players that left a few years ago, and trying to build all that back up, the fan base and everything, and build it back up, because I say build it back up because it has been there at that level. This gives us that opportunity to build it back up. So when the next round comes after the CFP agreement expires and some of these granted right contracts expire, maybe in 2031 or so, maybe we'll be in a much better spot. I'm hoping we'd be in a much better spot, because I think our football team will have matured. We'll get back on our feet there. We'll be winning ball games. We'll have a new stadium by that time, I hope. Maybe some practice facilities. Really just try to upgrade the program. So yeah, maybe that is the silver lining, is it gives us an opportunity to grow and get back up to speed, so that when the next round comes, that we're in a better position to bring value, because that's what it is. It's anytime conference realignment has happened across the country, it's all about what kind of value you bring to the new conference. And if you bring value, they want you. If you don't bring the value, then they're skipping over you. So we do have a lot of things to be proud of at Hawaii. We bring a lot of things to the table. We bring the 13th game. We bring travel subsidies. We bring a new football stadium that's on the horizon. We have a good television package. We have a great place to come visit and also recruit from. So we have a lot of things to be grateful for and to sell in the program. But we also have, some limitations. The most pressing one is the distance of flying 5 hours from California. And I know coaches are always complaining about that, but hopefully that's going to be more commonplace in people's minds now, with the Big Ten flying to from USC to Rutgers, or the ACC flying from Cal to North Carolina. So hopefully it's going to be more commonplace, that distance, and people get more used to it. But we've got to bring more value to the table, and I think this will give us an opportunity to do that.
Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, just kind of jumping off of that question as far as value, but just kind of in the immediate, this news cycle of conference realignment and things and all that has just kind of consumed the world and the world of college football. How much of this signing this agreement kind of set the focus back on the team, set the focus back on the season, on the athletics department, as opposed to thinking about where are we going, who are we going with, things like that?
Yeah, it's good to have stability back again. This is opportunity to continue to grow, but yeah, I mean, it has been, it's distracting, because you think of worst case scenario, do we have a home? I mean, we need a home. We need 8 games. People say, well, why don't we just drop off and be an independent like BYU did? But keep in mind, when BYU did it, they were getting $6 to $7 million from the ESPN to fund that program. Keep in mind, our distribution in the Big West or Mountain West is about $5 million a year. So they were getting, $7 million, $6-7 million a year, and also ESPN was helping them find games. The difficult thing with being an independent is trying to find games in October and November when people enter their season. Certainly, you can always find games in September, but the 8 games you need from a conference is very important. And going independent, you would have to get independents to us to go fly to, but also to come to the island, unless we're going to go 8 straight on the continent, and that's hard to do, especially during their season. And so that's a tough avenue to take, and wonder whether we could ever do that. So people say, yeah, it's just so easy. Just go be an independent, take this opportunity, play that 6 o'clock game every Saturday night, the Chase game, try to monetize it. But it's just not that easy. And so being in a conference is so important. And so we're very, very lucky to be in the Mountain West Conference, because if you're not going independent, then you better be in the Mountain West or the Pac-12 or maybe Conference USA or something like that. But you need a home. And so that's why we're happy to have a home and to continue to grow in this home and have 8 games and have people to play and be able to contend for the conference championship. which might even be a little, maybe a little easier, maybe to contend with the new conference champion, or for the conference championship, maybe with the new with the new configuration. Perhaps, I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's, getting that solidified, so at least we can get back to being on track to try to grow our program. Then that's a good feeling to have. Everyone needs a home.
Josh, go ahead.
Craig, you kind of you kind of mentioned value a little bit. One of the things that was signed in the release, the grant of media rights, starting in 2026. Media, television is one of the big talking points in college athletics nowadays. How does that grant of media rights potentially impact not only the University of Hawaii locally, but where the conference sees itself going to market starting in 2026?
Yeah, I don't know as much about that. I know that as it relates to the University of Hawaii, they want us to, join in on that to try to bring value to the overall Mountain West contract going forward. So with our Spectrum deal right now, it runs out next summer of 2025. We have been talking with them about seeing if we can extend it 1 year to take it to 2026, so that it aligns with the new Mountain West contract, to see if we can, bring everybody under the same umbrella, and if it brings us value. So that's the kind of direction we're going right now. But again, I'm not sure where we go at that point. I mean, hopefully we're all locked in for the next 5 or 6 years with that grant of rights agreement that we're all going to get to soon. But I'm not sure what that would look like. But I do know that they have asked, and we would like to see if we can align our television rights with the Mountain West for that 2026 contract, to see what kind of value that brings to all of us.
And my last question, being an affiliate member in the Mountain West, how much of a say will Hawaii have in what the Mountain West needs to do to grow to 8 full members, and however big the conference wants to get? How much of a say will Hawaii have in it?
Well, I think we have an equal say. I mean, we talked about the distribution model on that side of things, and that has varied from depending on what the circumstance is. But as far as our say in there, I think we would have full say. We have a working group of athletic directors, the 8 of us now, or 7 of us, I should say, that meet together now and are talking about that with our commissioner. I'm sure she has, she's more into it than we are, but she does advise us, and we do talk about it. So no, I think I think Hawaii has a full say in that. I know I speak up at these meetings. Sometimes they don't want me to, they're probably tired of hearing me speak at times, but I have not been told otherwise. And I feel like we are all working together as 7 ADs going forward, even though we're only in with football. But keep in mind, football, like we said, is 85% of the revenue that comes into the conference. So we are still a big member of that, and are well heard and well respected.
Christian, go ahead.
Hi, Craig. How much do you think these last few weeks have been a reminder of, the dog-eat-dog nature of current college athletics? I think a lot of people thought that, maybe a merger would make sense between the 2 Pac-12 schools, but, now it's 7-7 between these 2 conferences. So, what has your experience been like with that?
Yeah, it's interesting because you're right. We're at a standoff now. We each have 7. Where are we going to go now? It doesn't sound like anyone from the Mountain West is leaving to go in the Pac-12 now. So we have 7 and 7, and where's each conference going to go to get their 8th or 9th or 10th? But it is a dog-eat-dog world now. It's it's just like it has been when Oklahoma and Texas left. They took Big 12 by surprise when they did that, and on with the Big 10 and whatnot. And I guess we as ADs don't take it personally. Like, I was in AD meetings out here this earlier in the week, and I run into these guys that were in our conference: San Diego State's AD, Boise State's, Utah State's, these folks that we were all together in one conference at one time, and now we will be for the next 18 months. But of course, now things have shifted. But we understand that it's business as usual. It's not who you are, it's who you represent, and you've got a fiduciary duty to represent your institution the best way possible, and so that's what they all do. But it is unfortunate that there is really no collegiality anymore. There's no travel partners. There's no, it's all about money. Everybody, all this realignment in the last 5 years or so has been about one thing, and that's been about chasing more money, and generally it's the media contracts. And so, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. You know, even in the bigger conferences, the SEC is and the Big Ten, is USC going to used to be at the top of the Pac-12 all the time? Are they going to be content with being 6-6 every year? You know, and not being the toast of the town? Is same with you know, Oregon or some of those, or Texas and Oklahoma. Is Oklahoma going to be content with a 7-5 season every year now? Before, when they were the toast of the town. So we all chase the money, but it'll be interesting to see the practical effects it has on everybody and their fan base and their coaches and everybody else as this settles in, as we've chased the money. But yeah, I don't fault anybody. I mean, it's very collegial among the ADs, knowing that you gotta represent your interests. But it is kind of unfortunate when you think they're on your side and then they flip to the other side, and it's like, well, wait, you were in the conversations that we were talking about, you know, last week, and now, you know, how did that work, you know, so to speak. So it's a strange environment right now, but you just got to keep going.
Steven, go ahead.
Is the 5%, is that coming only from the Pac-12 situation, or is that also including all football money that the league gets, including TV rights?
I think it's just the exit fees and probably the poaching fees, because keep in mind, every team that leaves has to pay 17 million, and then every team that Pac-12 takes out of the Mountain West has to have a certain amount per team, poaching fees. So I think it started at maybe 15 for the first team, and then it goes down 500,000 for each one. So I think coming to us as a potential sixth team today would have been 13 million of poaching fees. So I think it's between the exit fees and the poaching fees that go into that pot of money that these bonuses are being paid out of. And they're one-time bonuses too, which is important to note, because it's, you know, I know that Boise State's been in here for a while, and they were getting before I even got here, we're getting an unusual large share because of their bargaining power and their success in football over the past years. And you know, I think some of these deals of revenue share that go on and on can be distressing if the teams don't stay at the top level anymore. So I think it's important to note that these are just one-time bonus payments, and then we'll probably try to tighten it up as it goes forward and see where it goes. They do need some money to pay to bring other teams in potentially too. So I think when all that settles in, we got all the teams to see how much you had to pay to bring in another team or something, then I think, you know, it will retain in the conference reserves. But what happens from there is another story. I don't know.
Were these bonuses offered before, I think earlier in the week when there were 8 teams before Utah State left, were these bonuses offered at that time, or are these bonuses only offered after Utah State left?
No, from the beginning of when this all started to, you know, before anybody left, they were, well, no, let me back up. I think after the first tranche left, I think that after the first 4 left, I think they started coming into place there, trying to solidify the conference.
And finally, does the football team get to keep the whole 5%, or do they have to split it? Is Timmy going to be happy tomorrow, or?
Oh, well, the money comes to the athletic department, like the whole revenue share. You know, I think we get 5 or so million from the conference with the revenue share every year. That comes to the athletic department, and, you know, is used to be fun. It's just another revenue source that we have, you know, from ticket sales and corporate sales and, you know, legislative appropriations and institutional help and conference, you know, so it all goes in the pot of money, and then it's all parceled out,
So that'd
you know,
be a
based
no.
on the budgets.
Okay.
What's that?
That would be a no then. About football getting all the money.
Yeah,
All
but
5%.
they seem to get a lot already. You know, we gotta feed the top dog there. And so you know, I don't think they go without too much. It's never enough, but you know, we've got it. I mean, our whole budgets, we've got to improve. And I think that was one thing of the Pac-12 is, will they really get 10 to 15 million dollars in additional or in their media rights deal for each school? And that remains to be seen too. But anytime you can chase new revenue sources through conference realignment or through other areas, that's what we do in college athletics now. I mean, even the Texases of the world and the Oklahomas of the world left to the SEC for one reason, and that was to enhance the payout to their always I think that's the hardest part about college athletics these days. And it's not unusual today versus 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but you're chasing revenue and you're trying to monetize everything because the expenses keep going up and you know, you want to be competitive. So, you know, it's a tough environment right now, but you know, you just got to keep chasing or trying to monetize everything you can and trying to raise as much money as you can.
All right, Christian.
Yeah, Craig. On Monday there was a report from Reddit saying that in addition to the Mountain West and Pac-12, there was some discussion with the Conference USA. How serious were those conversations with CUSA? I know you outlined, you know, some of the Pac-12 stuff, but in terms of Conference USA, yeah, what was the deal there?
Yeah, there's never been any serious discussion with that. I mean, I think what happened was Reddit was at our Sam Houston State game because I know the Reddit folks, and they were down on the sidelines. I was down on the sidelines. Judy McLeod, who was the commissioner of the Conference USA, I've known her for probably 20, 25 years. And she was at the game supporting her conference school because she lives in Dallas and they were just not too far a drive. So she drove down for the game. And so she came over, she walked over and said hello, which we all do when we go to different games. We'll go talk to the other ADs or the conference commissioners or anybody, you know, just informally. And so she walked over and we caught up, chatted for a while and chatted about the industry and, you know, how she had lost 6 teams to the American, you know, a few years ago and that kind of thing, but never had any discussions about, hey, you know, what do you think? Do you think Hawaii could be involved there? That was never a conversation. I mean, their footprint is so much different than ours anyway. It just wouldn't have been. Yeah. So there was no discussion on that. It was purely just a personal get to know get to caught up from past years and see how she's doing. And we just talked for about the first half about all sorts of things. And then she left to go to the other side and I left to do something else. And that was it. So I think he caught a picture of that because he was down there, not too far from us. And so when I saw that picture, that was what it was, is he just took a picture of us talking. And I think people might have inferred that we're talking about, you know, this kind of thing, but that's not our footprint and that wouldn't be a fit for us.